And just to start, what exactly was approved at tonight's meeting?
A general concept for us to start design. So there were two alternatives that were presented. One was a 4-lane alternative, and then the other one was a 2-lane alternative, 1 lane either direction with a left-hand turn lane at certain intersections and a center line median. And so what was decided tonight was that general concept of the 2-lane alternative was decided tonight so that we can begin going to a 30% actual start design. So we can try to zero in on the exact footprint that we're going to need for the roadway.
And then there was a lot of discussion about chemicals or other things that could eventually kind of get out once construction is started on this. What exactly could happen in that?
Well, I mean, from the individuals, both the DNR and the environmental engineers that have done the analysis and the environmental, don't feel that there's a high risk. There's always a risk in anything that we put a shovel in the ground. But once we iron out the footprint, then we'll be able to start discussions again with the DNR and find out what additional regulations that we need. We'll start looking at the multiple investigations we have done over the last decade, and with that's kind of is going to be where we're going to start. And if the DNR requires us to do additional investigations based on the fact that we're going to acquire properties or future, then of course we'll abide by those regulations.
And then another big talking point tonight was that some residents could eventually be displaced.
Correct.
Because of their homes. Can you just kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. So when we widen our right-of-way, it ends up being, obviously, we're encroaching in on private property. And in order to address the safety concerns, then we move into what they call a condemnation. And so the city has the ability to go ahead and acquire that property through proper processes, both federal and state regulations that we'd have to go through, just like we did with phase 1. And so, and those processes would initially begin by hiring a real estate specialist, and then once that exact footprint is determined, once we have a plat map designed on the exact amount of property that we need, along with any temporary limited easements, then that will start the process and discussions with the residents and their notifications. Yeah.
Is there an estimate right now of how many, I don't know the exact number of residents, but how many property or how much property this could affect?
Yeah, there's, I believe it's 16, and what we would call full takings, where we would need to, because the street will widen enough to where it would actually go through the home or the front porch or very close to it. So, yes, so approximately 16 properties.
Okay. And then just in general, there was about 2 hours tonight of public comment and back and forth with the committee. Just what was your overall reaction of how the public kind of reacted to this?
I know that there's a lot of the public, obviously, that are concerned about the environment, and we are going to be diligent with the environmental concerns. We're going to be diligent with the environmental assessments that we've completed thus far, as well as the investigations and the subsurface investigations that have already taken place. Any property that the city acquires will also have to be looked at. If there is contamination on those properties, the city takes that liability on, so we will be responsible for it. Like any other street project, if there's contamination in the area, we have to abate it. We have to address it, and the DNR, we have to be in compliance with that, and that won't be any different here along Thomas Street.
And now the next move is this goes to the August Common Council meeting. Is that right?
That's correct. On August 8th, it will go to council. Today was actually a vote on that, and then council will be the final approval.
And the council will make the final decision, and then if it is approved at the council meeting, what happens next then?
We will work with AECOM to begin and start them into the 30% design process. And at that time, the city will start preparing an RFP to start consultation with a real estate specialist, and hopefully to get them under contract to help us out. So, and that happens in conjunction. We don't know exactly right now what properties we would need to take through condemnation, but they would also need to be involved in the plat process and conversations with committees and finance and those types of things as well. And so we would need to start those conversations. As AECom said tonight, so once we get to 30% design plans, they will come back to committee. We will have a public information meeting. Then those comments, based on what is laid out, they will come back to committee. Basically, everything on Thomas Street in the past, I believe, has gone to council. So I would assume that committee would want that to go to council as well.
And with this being approved tonight, is the project on schedule right now, in your opinion?
Yeah, currently we're hoping to do a 2019 construction, and so we still, that's still a feasible option for us right now. And so just depending on how the process moves forward will depend on whether we're going to be able to meet that or that will be delayed.
Anything else you'd like to add on about tonight?
No, I did appreciate the public comments. I've spoken with many of them. Obviously the environmental concerns, but we really can't approach that. I mean, in a real fiscally responsible way until we know the footprint that we're going to be in. And so I think this is a good step by the committee. I hope the council moves this forward as well, so we can start having these conversations and actually move something forward.